Hi. So first, I'd like to always start off with people to watch this Mark Edwards lecture at Michigan University about the Flint water crisis and Washington, D.C. water crisis. I'll have a link below. Definitely make sure you watch it if you haven't. What I want to get into is a little bit of history, which gets into a little bit of economics, and it gets us into politics again. It's very difficult to get into this without a whole lot of research. One day I'll present it to you in a very long session or multiple sessions. But again, I want you to go and watch things by Mark Blyth. He'll kind of tell you a couple of things in his economic point of view. He's an economist. He's at Brown University. He had a an interview with Jimmy Dore. You've probably seen it, but if you haven't, take a look. And also look at other of Mark Blyth's lectures and interviews of other people. Now, I'm going to move this way back, and you're going to be wondering, Napoleon Bonaparte, why? And what's this have to do with anything Napoleon did in France? Well, first thing, I want you to go and read about Napoleon Bonaparte, read about history. Yeah, it may be a dry subject, but once you get into it, it gets pretty exciting because you'll see how much history, even a couple hundred years ago, many decades, generations, how they apply to how things are going on now. And one of the quotes I like to read, and you can go and read it for yourself. I'll send the links. When government is dependent upon bankers for money, they and not the leaders of the government control the situation. Since the hand that gives is above the hand that takes, money has no motherland. Financiers are without patriotism and without decency. Their sole object is gain. Now, why would he make a quote like that? You're probably wondering. Well, all the bad things you might hear about Napoleon, and there's also a lot of good things. You know, you gotta separate what was bad, what was good. Yeah, he led a conquest of Europe, but why? And why did he? How did it all start? And why did his countrymen really like what he was doing? What was the type of policies, what type of government was there before Napoleon took over? Anyways, there's also some things of like his contributions, and you're like, wow, is this really bad? I mean, was he really that bad of a person? Well, read up on his history. Look at his economic reforms, look at his religious freedom, look at freedom for Jews, education reforms. You're going to see a lot of similarities of things that you like. Not only that, you're going to see a lot of things that are similar to what's going on today. Now, one thing to look into, and this is going to be going into, you're going to say, oh, this is some conspiracy theory territory and things like that. Well, is it? If you haven't looked into it, all you're going to just say is blow it off. Well, look into it. Just do a quick Google search. Why, if you do Napoleon versus Rothschild, you've probably heard of what Rothschild. If you don't really know who Rothschild is, you've probably heard him somewhere, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff going into this. And what does the Rothschild family dynasty have to do with Napoleon? Well, let's look. I clicked into this one, and it's going here. This is a podcast by this person. You might want to read up on him and fact check and actually look into whether this actually has a source in historical text. You might want to go to a university, study up on it, etc., etc., or talk with anyone who understands history from the French point of view. Maybe talk to a Frenchman, French woman, whatever, French national. Okay. So a lot of it, this is a really short snippet, and this is just a legend. but this is an interesting legend if it's true, and this is something I'd like to look into. When the Battle of Waterloo was being fought, other speculators watched Rothschild stocks to guess who would win. Um, Shortly before the battle ended, and long before anyone else knew who the victor was, he began selling stocks. So everyone thought, okay, he lost. So that meant Napoleon won and Europe was lost. So everyone was going, oh my goodness. So they started selling everything, and when everything got sold and stock was cheap, Rothschild just bought it all back up. That's genius. Even though that's just like a legend, popular legend, that's very, very. I could see that happening. That's just genius right there. Genius and horrible, but that's why I believe it. Belief. I don't think it's true because I haven't researched it. So that's the difference between belief and thought. Okay, now this is kind of segueing back. Let's take a moment to go from Napoleon and back to here to capitalism. And this is diving into why we're in the Middle East. So watch this snippet from or segment from Lee Camp from Redacted Tonight, and he kind of goes back and looks at declassified emails and some actually a Times or New York Times article. No, it's Times, not New York Times article about a couple of things, and you're kind of wondering, well, what's this whole thing about gold-backed currency is Federal Reserve notes, and why don't they want U.S. money, et cetera, et cetera. That'll be discussed in the Mark Blyth interview. And then this, you kind of have to go back into U.S. history as well. And when you do something like search for difference gold-backed dollar versus reserve note, you can see how gold-backed currency and non-Federal Reserve dollars were as opposed to current Federal Reserve notes. And this site, that's where this link is from. I just went and clicked on it just to see, and it tells you a good amount of information, but is it misinformation? That you have to decide for yourself. I didn't read through this. I read through it before in the past, a long time ago. I did my own research because my research is based on getting to the source. Making sure that different historical context is I'm seeing from not just our historical literature, maybe those from Europe, maybe those from even say China or up different places, different areas, and make sure that they match up, whether it's corporate backed, whether it's educational from university backed, whether it's whatever. So that's what you have to worry about when you go through a lot of these things. What's the agenda of whoever has this website, organization, this .org? Is it a religious agenda? Because it's going to dive a lot into Illuminati and occultism and things like that, or it's gonna go everywhere. But the basis is what is it with this whole Federal Reserve versus a country's own dollar or their own currency. United States, we don't really have our own currency. We use the Federal Reserve. Look at any dollar bill right now, you're going to see that it's a Federal Reserve note, and that goes into history. So what does this have to do with our problem, with our issues in the Middle East? Well, you're going to have to watch the Redacted Tonight episode. Okay, so I don't really want to go further than that. I want to do a lot more research to present it, because I can read faster, really fast, almost like 5,000 words per minute. That's crazy. But getting it all organized to present to people, that's going to take a lot longer. And I feel like I don't want to do that yet, especially when there's only like 2 viewers out there watching my stuff. So if you're interested, definitely look into all these links that I provide for you. Watch these videos and let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and then if you're interested, I can work with getting something more substantial up on this matter. All right, bye.